Hi and welcome to the Auction and Antique News. My name is Jason Harris and this segment is brought to you by Scammell Auctions. Before we begin, a big thank you to not only my friends but people who know me who've given me some feedback about my presentation style. The overarching comment, probably a little bit too stiff and news-like and speak from the heart. Anyway, let's do that. So more of a natural one. So it's a warts and all presentation. Anyway, on to the international news. Heading off, the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Milgauss watch, which was originally produced in 1958, was offered in November and sold for $195,000 Australian or £110,000. Had an original estimate of £40,000 to £60,000. Now, what makes this interesting, this watch, it was named for its ability to withstand magnetic flux. Milgauss is a measurement of magnetic field and it was first produced by Rolex for CERN and for other areas like medical facilities and research labs. And what it's got is a really cool lightning bolt second hand, so it's very identifiable and obviously a rare watch to be sold for £195,000. Okay, and on to some art news. A German auction house has sold a golden or Dutch golden age painting for more than 50 times its estimate. I love these stories. So originally started off around about €15,000 and it sold for $1.285 million Australian, so huge. So the painting is called Paradise and originally painted in 1625 and was one of the artist's many landscapes depicting animals, both fanciful and real, and as you can see here, in a peaceful kingdom of paradise. Whilst it's not a sale record for Savory, it's certainly the highest price sold online for a Roland Savory. So fabulous outcome there, $1.285 million. Okay, on to comics. Comic books always get me. So there's been a recent comic auction and one of the highlights was a 1939 comic is sold for $220,000 Australian. This was in America last week by a huge auction room, Heritage Auctions, which specialise in this type of paraphernalia and collectible. So it was the Detective comic number 33 and it was one of the most sought after of the Golden Age comics because it's not only Batman's fourth appearance on the cover but also told the character's origin as a story inside. Heritage Auctions in Dallas raised no less than $8.75 million with 14 lots fetching in excess of $100,000 US. So amazing outcome, so $220,000 for a comic. Okay. And the Rockefellers. So we all know the billionaire banker David Rockefeller and his wife Peggy. They had amassed a collection of over 2,000 items, and this is going to come up for sale next year by Christie's. Around about 2,000 lots in all, and the proceeds of this are going to go to charity, and it's expected to blitz the Yves Saint Laurent sale about 8 years ago of $443 million. Now the highlights are a Picasso from his Rose period, a Sèvres porcelain dinner service made for Napoleon, and a Monet water lily painting, some of the highlights of this sale. So around about 2,000 lots sold by Christie's, that'll be next year. Now they're going to go on a global tour, so some of the selected highlights of the collection will be shown in Hong Kong, London, Los Angeles and New York for spring of next year. So it's an amazing thing and we're expected in excess of $443 million American. Now on to Old Masters. So it is the Old Masters season in Europe and certainly through Germany and Austria this autumn, or their autumn anyway. Now traditionally the first autumn sales contained some just medium price Old Masters. And there was a copy of The Lion Hunt by Paul Rubens, or Peter Paul Rubens, and that was by Lempertz. And it was catalogued for €3,000 to €4,000. And then it sold for about €250,000. So work that out, £221,000, €250,000. What the German collectors thought it was in fact an unsigned painting by Eugene Delacroix, and that was painted between 1798 and 1863. So an amazing find, and just shows that these type of things do come up at auction. Now in local news, the bookcase we've been talking about at Scammells, the bookcase after hundreds of hours of research and weeks of speculation has finally been offered and sold last Monday night, and it sold for a staggering $50,000 Australian, which is an amazing price for not only a colonial piece of furniture but also for a bookcase. So where did it end up? So it ended up being purchased by local philanthropist and the Mayor of Clare, Mr. Alan Orgy, who has donated it to the Clare community. So that'll be housed in their library until such time as the art gallery is built in Clare. So an amazing outcome, not only for the South Australian piece of furniture, but also for the Clare community. And on to Ethel Carrick Fox. So local artist, or Australian artist, Ethel Carrick Fox. Now this is a local and international story. The Cotswold Auction Company had a sale earlier this month on November the 14th. There's a lovely little oil on board, 26 by 34 centimetres, and it says to be lively scenes she painted of markets, parks and flower gardens. And the painting came from a private source. It ended up selling for about £12,000, which is, if you look up the prices for Ethel Carrick Fox, it's not a bad price at all. And that's sold online at the sale room. And also, following on some of the art news locally, a Chinese export painting is a 19th century oil on canvas from the Chinese school in Canton, sold for $45,000. This is entitled The Great Fire. So again, amazing outcome for some Chinese works. Now, into interesting news as we cross the Tasman over to New Zealand. And it's about a stolen painting. Now, this is a painting by Godfried Lauder, and was stolen from the art gallery in New Zealand earlier this year. It was about April this year. Now, apparently it's surfaced on the dark web. For those who don't know what the dark web is, I suggest you don't look it up, just in case you accidentally slip in there. But it's the hidden part of the web where all sorts of dark and underhanded things go on. Anyway, this is apparently surfaced and it's been offered for a price of £500,000. Really not sure what to make of this. Anyway, the stolen piece was completed about 1884. It's extremely rare. What they are trying to work out is whether it's an original piece. Now, apparently there has been a quote from a person from the dark web called Diabolo. Now, I'm not sure whether Diabolo meant to have spelled his name Diablo, which is completely different because Diabolo is in fact a circus yo-yo, which seems to make sense in this instance. Anyway, it says here you can bid on an top secret painting from the Bohemian painter Godfried Lindauer, which was stolen in New Zealand, Auckland, 2017. So there's the dark web for you. Tells you that it is actually stolen, but it could be yours for £500,000. I do suggest, though, you don't look it up. All right, that is it from the local and international news. We'll certainly see you next week. Keep the comments coming. Don't forget to look up the rest of the YouTube channel or the rest of the videos on Facebook. My name's Jason Harris. This is brought to you by Scammell Auctions. Thank you.